All right, so I hope this video finds you all well. This is just a video of me doing your reading. So if you prefer to hear someone read things aloud as we go along through it, that will be the purpose of this video. So each year in the United States produces between 2,000 and 2,400 metric tons of nuclear waste at nuclear power plants. Nuclear waste is leftover radioactive material produced by reactors. So that's a really important idea here. Leftover radioactive material produced by reactors. Now, the radioactive material can radiate energy, some of which is harmful. It can't be seen, felt, or heard, but it can damage living cells and cause diseases such as cancer. Currently, most nuclear Currently, most nuclear waste is stored at the power plants where it is produced. If the containers storing nuclear waste were to leak, it would be released into the air in nearby bodies of water. This could be dangerous for people living nearby who breathe the air and interact with the water. Individuals who inhale or ingest radioactive material are more likely to develop related illnesses than people who do not. The level of risk depends on the dose and length. So this is what's pretty crazy is this radiation cannot be seen, heard, or felt at the time, but over time, it will damage the living cells inside your body and cause things such as cancer. Now, most nuclear waste is actually stored at the power plants. I wonder why that is. Um, but the goal of them is to store them so they don't release it into the air or nearby bodies of water. So, for more than 50 years, scientists have been considering ways to store nuclear waste safely. They have proposed sending it into space, placing it on the ocean floor, burying it on a remote island, but those options all pose problems. Most experts now agree the safest solution is to store nuclear waste in containers engineered to contain the waste and place them in a central location deep underground. So we've tried a few ideas: placing it on the ocean floor, burying it in a remote, just launching it into space. Yes, that was one of the ones that was actually considered, but we ended up not going with that one. So in January 2012, a group of experts appointed by the president called the Commission of America's Nuclear Future recommend that the country should find and develop one or more deep underground storage sites. In order to pursue this recommendation, there are many scientific and social issues involved with choosing a site to store all of that stuff. So let's get a little background about nuclear waste. Where is nuclear waste generated? So reactors create nuclear waste in nuclear power plants, nuclear medical treatment facilities, and nuclear research and technology facilities. The materials have high to low levels of radioactivity depending on the technology they are used for. Nuclear reactors are at power plants and government defense projects generate the most nuclear waste. So most of them are in the form of highly radioactive solids of metal, ceramic, or glass. Some of these solids remain radioactive for years, but others are likely to remain for at least 250,000 years. So, government defense projects. Fun fact: aircraft carriers are powered by a nuclear power plant. So, they are considered government defense. Also, reactors at power plants. So, they generate an insane amount of power, but they leave material radioactive. So, how are people protected from nuclear waste? The most likely danger from nuclear waste is the accidental release of radiation into the air or water, where it can be spread through the environment and might lead to ingested or inhaled. Nuclear waste is stored in containers made of lead, steel, and concrete to protect people from its harmful effects and to prevent it from leaking into the air and water supplies. These containers are built to resist high impact, high temperatures, corrosive chemicals. And these containers are massive, people. So I've talked to somebody who worked at a power plant, and they're these massive concrete cylinders. And the concrete may be at times over 15 feet wide. Um, but these massive containers are just to store one actual piece of nuclear radiation, essentially. So one thing that's considered to be radioactive. So if we go over here, go to the next page. Looks like my drawings are still on this page. So these containers over a long period of time can cause them to leak. Thus, experts have determined that it's best to store nuclear waste containers in dry areas with little rainfall. So how much waste comes from the nuclear power plants? The United States has 99 operating nuclear reactors and 60 power plants. About 20% of the electricity in the United States comes from power plants. Over time, they have produced more than 70,000 metric tons of nuclear waste. If these reactors continue to operate and no additional nuclear power plants are built, the amount of nuclear waste to store will be over 140,000 metric tons by the year 2050. If more plants are built to help meet our electricity demands, this number would increase. So as you can see, we're going to be encountering a little bit of a problem. If we are just going to let them continue to operate, we have to find a place to store it, and it has to be safe. We have to be able to store a lot of it. So, how is it stored now? Nuclear waste is currently stored at 75 sites in 33 states. Where nuclear fuel is first removed from the reactors, it's placed in a deep pool of water. The water helps to cool the fuel and protect workers from radiation. About 50,000 metric tons of nuclear waste is currently stored in pools. At some power plants, the cooled nuclear waste is transferred to dry storage. About 15,000 metric tons of nuclear waste is currently stored in dry containers above ground. Those were the containers I drew for you on the last part, those large, massive containers of concrete. Here you can see that there's a really deep pool, and then all of the fuel rods, which are these cylinders down here, are stored in the water. And water is really good for storage because it allows things to cool down with water itself. It takes a lot of energy to really warm up water. So these really allow them to be stored effectively, but also cooled down safely. So below Earth's surface, where up to 70,000 metric tons of nuclear waste can be safely stored for at least 10,000 years. So that's really the last part of the reading. But just so you guys are aware, we also have those two maps as well. So make sure you pay attention for those on the next part of the PDF.